Hi, it is Wednesday, so let's get started. This is from Andrea in Pennsylvania. One night I had a horrible nightmare. During this nightmare, my uncle was trying to force me into an opening in the attic. I felt that if he pushed me in the attic, I would be lost or killed. I couldn't see his face or clothes. He was just an all-black figure. I've dreamt of my uncle before. He is deceased. A week or so later, I found out my dad's mother had passed. She passed the same day I had my nightmare of my uncle. I was not close to her. In fact, I didn't have any feelings toward her at all. She was a mean person to me and my family. She must have hated me more than I thought because my mom and myself were not allowed to go to the funeral, per her instructions. My question is, was my nightmare from my dad's mother? Was my Uncle Denny really trying to hurt me? I don't ever remember having any kind of relationship with his ex-wife. Okay, first of all, if you were having a bad dream about your Uncle Denny, you were having a dream about him. He was not in your dream. If he is earthbound spirits cannot get into a dream. Ever. They have to be crossed over to get into somebody's dream. And if they're in the light, it's going to be a good dream. It's not going to be a bad dream. So no, your grandma didn't have anything to do with the dream you were having, unless, you guys knew grandma was sick and she was dying, and it could have just been a whole thing, in your mind and everything. But no, your grandmother did not do this. Your uncle was not trying to kill you or push you in an attic. That was something, totally else going on. It had nothing to do with either of those two people. The last question is, why won't my dead loved one speak to me in my dreams? Sometimes I can hear what they are thinking, but for the most part, they do not speak to me. I hear ghosts in my mind too. I don't have to talk out loud. I just talk with them through my mind. And as long as they can communicate with you, whether it is speaking or mentally, good for you. Because this is at least, you are talking to them and you're knowing that they're okay, which is a really good thing. This one is continuing from Linda in Philadelphia. We'll do some more of her questions today. Regarding my comment, no earthbound spirits reside in cemeteries. If a person was buried alive by mistake, many years ago, I'm sure, many people were buried because nobody knew they were actually dead, a coma, whatever. And when they did die and they came out, why wouldn't they be hanging out inside the cemeteries? Very simple answer to this. An earthbound spirit needs human energy to keep going. Everybody in the cemetery is dead. Who are they going to get energy from? They are there when the prayer service is going on and whatever is going on at the cemetery. And again, most of them will walk into that bright white light at that point, and they are where they need to be. This is like a person that is murdered. Say a person is thrown into a lake. They were unconscious. They didn't know who threw them in the lake. They drowned. I don't know, what would it take, 2.5, 3 minutes for a person to drown? Their spirit leaves their body, but whoever threw them in the lake, they don't know who it is because they weren't there. So the same thing, they're going to come out of their body, and maybe they went back to the houses where they used to live. They could have gone anywhere. They could have hung around, and when one of their relatives actually died, they could have crossed over with that spirit. That's why I have to chuckle at Halloween when these people all go on ghost walks to see the ghosts in cemeteries. I'm not sure what they're looking at. Another question is, let's turn the page. Does one have to talk out loud to a crossed over spirit to get a response, or can you just think about them and mentally ask them? An earthbound spirit cannot read your mind. They can hear whatever it is said, but they cannot read minds, which is a really good thing. I always tell people when you go to a funeral home to visit somebody, if this was a person you didn't especially care for, don't stand in front of the casket and tell them exactly what you thought of them. Think it, because they won't know what you're thinking. This gal verbally talks to her family and friends who have passed on, just like she's having a one-sided conversation. Absolutely. On the day they died, on your birthday, on a day that you're really, really thinking about them. That could be a day that they're visiting you. And I'm talking about spirits that have crossed over. They cannot read your mind either. But if you talk out loud, they can absolutely hear you. I do not obviously talk out loud either to them. I do everything mentally. You said when you use a dream bag that you should state your intentions out loud and ask them to communicate with you. Okay, the dream bag. The dream bag is mostly an herb called mugwort. When it is under your pillow, it will help you start remembering your dreams. You're not really asking the dream bag to do anything for you. And once you start remembering your dreams, then you will start seeing people that you love and know that have died. And that way you can speak to them. So I'm not quite sure exactly where you're going with that one. But that is her questions that we're doing today. She still has more. We'll get back to them one of the next times. This one is from St. Louis, and she just goes by the initial J. A close friend suddenly died from a brain aneurysm. Her wish was to not have an open casket funeral, but be given to a medical school for student dissection, and then given back, and then cremated. Well, her remains will be back, and I want to know, did she go into the light? Has she crossed over? If there has not been a memorial service yet, she probably has not, but I'm going to think that she would not be wherever the medical students are either. I would think this would be the same thing as a person that is getting prepared for a funeral. Very few people want to watch that process be done. And I would think this would be the same thing in a medical setting with students, that whoever the cadaver is, they don't want to be standing there watching it. Has she crossed over? Yes, if there was a memorial service. What do I do next? I had her sick body blessed by a priest before they were pronounced dead. Apparently they had no relatives if you're in charge, so hopefully if you're following their wishes and they went to a medical school, then if you're going to have a memorial service, the 48 to 72 hours would start after that. And if you already had the memorial service, then she is where she's supposed to be. Okay, this one is from Marie. Have I ever spoken to the ghost of a person who was an atheist while alive? Or basically someone who believes it just fades to black when we die? What do they have to say about it afterwards? Actually, it's funny, not funny, haha, but funny, strange, because if somebody is a true atheist or agnostic, they really don't believe there is anything else. But I get invited to their funerals also. And I have to tell you, the shocked look on their face, like it's, wow, I'm not a pile of ash. I just didn't disappear. I'm here. It goes two ways. Some of them are, wow, I'm so sorry I didn't believe. And then there's others that feel, wow, I've been so sure that there was nothing. Am I allowed to go into that white light now? So it's sort of a mixed bag here. And yes, of course, you can go into the light. Do I know any other people who do this beside my daughter? And anybody else that you would recommend? I provide such a special, unique service to living people that I worry what's going to happen, especially in the Cleveland area when you are gone one day. You know, golly, I don't know. I really don't know anybody in this area that can exactly do what I do. Yes, Tara can. Not the way I do, but she still accomplishes the whole thing. I really don't know anybody that can do what I do. There's not a club. This is not something that I can teach. I think either you can do it or you can't do it. I think people can be aware or sense that there is something there. Otherwise, I wouldn't get so many phone calls. But exactly what I do, I'm sure there are. I just don't know where. This last one, I did a gal's house in Iowa, Debbie, and when I was on the phone with her, she had 3 ghosts in her house. So there were a number of people that I had set up to go out to Idaho or Iowa to do. And when I got to Debbie's house, there were only 2 earthbound spirits there, not 3. And I could get rid of the 2 that were there, but I don't know how to call ghosts. Either that 3rd ghost was going to be there or was not. So once the quincedes were in place, at least the 3rd ghost that was not in the house when I was there could not get in, which is perfect. And yeah, they may knock a couple of times, being a little angry that they can't get in once the seeds are up, but that takes so much energy, they don't do that very often or many times. But this was interesting. It was one morning and she heard somebody knocking on her back door, and she looked out the window, and these are the 2 pictures that she sent me. This was the spirit that was not there the day that I was there, and it was just hanging around the bird feeder. And you can see all of that up in the corner there, all that white foggy stuff. That is definitely the spirit that was not there when I was there. And here's another picture where it moved. There you go. I think you can see it that way a little bit better. And obviously it was going to hang out for a while, but I can assure you, an earthbound spirit is not going to get any energy from a bird. They're going to have to find some place where there are people so they can get the energy that they want. Okie doke. On Sunday, February 9th, at the venue in Talmadge, I will be having an event out there that is outside of Akron, Ohio, for those of you that aren't from this area. Doors open at 12:30. 1:30 is the lunch, a buffet. Very good food. This is the 2nd time I'm going to be out there, so really good food. And the talk starts at 2:30. Apparently there is limited seating, which I could understand with the food. So if that's something that you want to go to my website and you can get all the information on how to get there, MaryAnnWinkowski.com. I've gotten a few letters already about pets, animals. If you have questions that have not been answered about your pets and them dying and everything like that, Right. In the next couple of weeks, I will be doing a whole YouTube just on pets. So definitely get those letters in. And we'll do this again next Wednesday. Thanks so much.